Well, we've reached that 11 a.m. hour out on the West Coast. So good morning or good afternoon or good night to wherever you are out there. I see that we have quite a few people. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know that there's people joining as we go, but I want to welcome everyone to Vicon's VAX Access Control webinar. This was something that was asked by a lot of people saying, hey, we know you have an access control product to go with your new VMS product as well. So we want to walk you through our access control offering as well. So we're excited to have you here today. We want to thank you for joining us here on this short Thanksgiving holiday week. And I think that you'll be really excited about some of the things that you see today. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Frederick Wahlberg. I'm the Director of Field Marketing for Vicon. And I'm going to be joined today by our lead application engineer, Wee Lai, and he will be walking through the software demonstration portion of this. So over the next 45 minutes to about an hour, we'll be walking through the entire product line. We'll be talking about the end-to-end solution that we have in terms of an access control product and give you a little bit of an overview on the topology and the software functionality as well. So this is what our agenda is going to look like. We'll walk through some of the components and the product overview. We'll take a closer look at the controller and what makes that unique for us. We'll take a look at the flexibility you have in the methods in which you can install our access control product. We'll quickly touch on some of the integrations that make VAX a very robust access control product. And then we'll talk about the ease of use and flexibility that the product offers. One of the great features is that it's extremely easy to use, feature rich, and it can scale with your customer as you grow. As I mentioned, we will walk through the software and the demo of how things actually work, so you'll get to see the UI, how to log in, how to associate video to the activity, amongst other things. And then quickly we'll touch on a high-level roadmap to show you where our product is today and where it's moving into the future. And if time allotted, we will have a short Q&A session. We do encourage that you ask questions throughout the broadcast here. We'll be taking notes of those questions and we'll be able to answer them if time allotted again at the end. If not, we will get to each and every one of your questions individually. And as you know, we have regional sales managers and reps in each one of your territory. We encourage you to reach out to them with any questions as well. So we'll start with the components of our access control product. It's a fully featured PoE access control system. It seamlessly integrates with our ViconNet software, and it's a powerful security solution. I should also mention that it does integrate with other VMSs. So if you are an existing user of Milestone, Exact, or Digital Watchdog, it will work with that as well. The access control system is offered with a traditional 1- or 2-door controller. We have elevator controllers, we have I/O boards, and this can all be put into the traditional Vicon enclosure as well. You can manage unlimited sites across unlimited doors and time zones using our multi-screen through the monitoring icon, which we will walk through in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the product selection that you have out there. First thing that you need to know about Vicon's VAX access control is that it's extremely easy to install. There is no client software install needed. It's a browser-based application, and for it, you just need one server. It has a very intuitive management layout and a sleek, modern interface that a lot of people are asking for. Again, in probably about 15 minutes, you'll get to see exactly what that looks like. We have third-party integrations for enhanced levels of flexibility and performance. We'll walk through some of those integrations. It should be noted that all of our product is UL approved, and we do have one of the early questions that we always get in terms of an integration is, do we have LDAP or Active Directory? And yes, we do. We have a wide variety of controllers, readers, and credentials that fit any installation. So any cards, proximity key tags, graphic cards, coin proxies, wireless handheld remotes. You see that we have the 2 and 4 button receivers for gates, both at 200 and 400 range on the transmitters, all part of the product line that we have. We also have bundled packages with PC, as you can see there as well. Now, I see some questions coming in already in terms of pricing. We would like for you to contact your local rep or RSM for pricing. We just released a sales alert, not only on version 2.7, but some of the new pricing that we have gone through on the hardware side for access control that I think is going to be very welcome in the marketplace and for our existing customers. So our tagline for VAX is maximum security with total flexibility, but we really see this as more than a tagline. We really want to walk the talk when it comes to that. And part of that is our flexible mounting choices. Now what you see below is our controller in a cover. You can get it in a traditional black or you can get it in a white to match the wall that you may be installing it. So when we say flexible mounting choices, we have a unique above-the-door installation. You can do that, or you can do it in the traditional sense, home running it back to an IT closet. We have an embedded request-to-exit motion sensor, which you can see on the black cover down there. And we'll take a closer look at the controller here on the next slide. But the request-to-exit motion sensor is a patented technology that is unique to us. Full video integration interface with the Vicon VMS. A thin client browser-based software and PoE-ready panels. Installation is very quick. Panels are very fast. We have lightning fast 100 megabit per second communication, meaning real-time action, real-time notifications, and the panels will update much faster than many panels that I have seen in the field deployed. We also support wireless connectivity, minimal wiring and installation with feedback at the door, making installation a breeze. And again, we offer this all the way from a 1 and 2 door up to an enterprise unlimited door or panel moving forward. So as you scale or as your customer scales, this is a product that will work very well from that, not only from a price point, but also from a feature set and how you scale and purchase the licenses. So let's have a closer look at what the controller looks like. This is really one of the things that we bring to our customers when they have a look at and say, wow, that is unique in the industry. We have the unique over-the-door design. As I mentioned, it drastically reduces installation and service time. Instead of sending 2 technicians out there, one at the reader site and one at the IT closet site, you can have one person out there. The LCD and diagnostics and configuration can all be done from that screen with the keyboard controls for full configuration, as you can see. We do support static and DHCP connection modes. As I mentioned, you only need one server. And something unique to this is that we have a fully distributed processing way of doing things. So the field controllers are not dependent on server operation. 50,000 events can be stored in that flash memory that's on the board. So as soon as it connects again, it auto-updates to the host database once connection is reestablished. So it will still work even if it's not connected to the server, and we can store, like I said, 50,000 plus events, which is more than anything that I've seen. I've typically seen about 5,000 to 10,000 in some of the competition that we've seen out there. 12 volt, 500 milliamp is the power that we'll run. So that's available at the door. Supports both electronic strikes or mag locks through the PoE. We have support for in-out reader configuration. We have 4 digital inputs that are fully configurable as well. The image here shows the common user case, but it can be a combination, any that you want. 4 contacts to 1 door or 2 doors per. So there's a different variety of ways that you can do it. Again, a lot of versatility at the door, over the door, or back in the closet. Now, one of the unique things about the controller, aside from how you're able to mount this at the installation site, is really the hardware design. So let's have a look at how this is actually constructed. Solid state construction. There is no moving parts on this. Solid state relays. All the inputs are digital. You have the built-in request to exit, which is unique to us. It has the linear 12 volt power out, so it's managed to maintain a very flat line. You also have a very powerful 32-bit microprocessor. Again, you might be used to seeing an 8-bit or a 16-bit microprocessor, so it's a very powerful, well-built controller at the edge. All of the IOs have overcurrent and surge suppression as well, which means that the panel is very well protected. Let's talk a little bit about how unique that differentiator is for us. This is what the typical above-the-door installation would look like. We have the motion sensor that's integrated into the access control device. You put that right at the door. It's a PIR sensor based on typical above-the-door installation, as you can see here. Now, the image that you see on the right is actually from an installation that we have. You see that the controller has been put into an existing infrastructure that was already there, and it still works the way it needs to be done. Now, because that one is not directly over the door, the PIR has been made fully configurable. So from within the software, you can adjust the sensitivity or the sampling rate, as it were, to fit the need of your installation. Now, the traditional home run installation is available as well. We have our own UL rated cans. As you can see in the images above there, you can fit 4 controllers in a traditional can. Now, that's 4 2-door controllers, meaning that 8 doors from our traditional rated cans can be, you can run 8 doors from 1 can. The I/O boards will fit in there as well. And this is really perfect for retrofits. So if you have something where you have existing wiring or existing cable at a site and you are interested in upgrading the hardware portion, it should be noted that all of our readers are standard 26-bit Vicon. So it's a very cost-effective way to do retrofits, not only from the product that we offer, but also from the standardized way that we're working with readers and cards. It's a nice, clean installation the way we have this, and it offers a smaller footprint than the traditional controller. Now, one of the questions that gets asked inevitably when I show the traditional home run install of our PoE controllers is, when are we going to see a traditional non-PoE using external power supply? That is something that we have planned for. It's in the roadmap, and it will be available. So the can is actually built and UL approved based on the fact that we'll be able to put external power supply and a battery backup in the can as we move forward. Now what you see here is our elevator controller with the 8th floor expanders. Now the elevator controller may look familiar to you, and the reason for that is because it looks exactly like our VAX 1 or 2 door controller, but it has a different factory installed firmware. So if you do get an elevator controller and you buy that for future use, just know that the firmware is meant for elevator use. It does have a different firmware, so you're not going to be able to install that as a 1 or 2 door controller. You can use the 2 reader ports. Those are the 2 elevator cabs with the reader in each. The expander board manages up to 8 floors per cab, and the expander is associated with the cab. So up to 8 expanders to each master controller, and that gives you a max of 64 floors per controller. But it's also important to note that we have unlimited controllers. 8 solid-state outputs interfaces directly with the elevator PLC or the program logic controller. Added features on the expander is that you have 8 available inputs used for button sensing. This gives us the insight to which floor button is being pressed, which gives us a greater situational awareness from a security standpoint. And again, unlimited controllers, unlimited scalability when it comes to this. The other question that'll come up is the photo badging software. What do you guys do in terms of photo badging? We have an integration with Card Preso, and this allows customers photo badging, printing, and management right from within our software. Now this is an integration that we have where you go get the Card Preso version, and basic system requirements and common off-the-shelf printers are available as well. We do have a series called Did You Know, which is available on our website that outlines basically how this works, and we also have the spec sheets, where to get it, how to work with it, all outlined in documentation on our website. Again, any further questions, feel free to ask the questions or go to our RSM on that front. Requires a licensed dongle, just connected to a USB. It has a state-of-the-art configuration, which allows users to upgrade either to a single side or a dual side. And you can also work with the optional Max driver or smart card encoder when it comes to this. This also has some more granular detail in terms of design capability for card layout or backgrounds or unique logos. We can help on this way as well. This has become a unique differentiator for some of our integrators that want to build this out. Another integration that we have is visitor management integration. We have an integration with HID Easy Lobby. It's a nice seamless integration, and it gives the ability for temporary access to doors and elevators. And we would sell this through an authorized dealer. This is a single license fee per server as well. Now, one of the things that makes Vicon's VAX access control unique is combining that ease of use, that slick modern interface, and also having it be quite robust. So it comes with an SQL database. It's powerful and secure. It's included with the VAX product, so there's no need to purchase a license for it. HTML5 enabled web responsive design. You can access VAX through any device, PC monitors, laptops, smartphones, or tablets, and you can do this without having the standard pinch and zoom and making sure that it fits, because it is in fact designed with HTML5. Advanced SSL encryption, it protects all your data. We do have support for multi-vendors, as mentioned. And I believe touched on this as well, that 50,000 events can be stored per controller, which is, some people say is overkill. They'll never reach that. We haven't seen that has been an issue yet, and it's really having that flash memory on the controller ensures that it's not dependent on the server. Now you can have multiple credentials per users as well, so you can create one user record and have unlimited credentials to that said record. Also multiple privilege groups given by defined collections of doors. You can create several rules within groups of doors and let users have access to several different ones. And I believe we will walk through that on the software demonstration portion as well. Now, the one thing that I always want people to walk away from is knowing really how unlimited the scalability is when it comes to the VAX access control product. It makes for a very scalable and robust product, and it's one that won't handcuff you in the future. And so as you're working and scaling, no matter what size you're working with, it's going to scale with the customer that you have. It really helps keep a low cost of ownership, and this is really one of the key differentiators of the VAX access control product, other than the flexibility of how you install it. And you're able to purchase doors without having to buy more than you need, which is something that people have asked for all the time. So you can manage these unlimited sites across multiple time zones, and you have a comprehensive partitioning of systems. And this is really one of the key ways that you build out the system that we will walk through. So without further ado, I will introduce to you our application engineer, Wee Lai. I believe that you're on as well. Wee,
yes,
there?
I'm here.
Excellent.
All right, thank you, Fred. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. What I'd like to do is introduce you to the general architecture of VAX, both on the hardware and software side, and then afterwards we'll show you the web browser interface and then touch on some of the key features. And then from there, we'll walk through the steps of building a system. This slide, what it shows here is the general topology of the VAX system. At the heart of the system you see is the VAX application server that's running the actual access control web server and SQL database. Now this is a server, Windows-based server platform, so the software is running on the server, and from there you're connecting to either one or two door controllers through local LAN, or even WAN that spans multiple physical sites. So as you can see here, what we depict as Site A and Site B. You can also integrate with video management systems, not only our system, but others, as Fred has mentioned. And also, the important thing to note here is that you have one application server that's connected to, again, unlimited number of controllers, and you can have unlimited number of users and cardholders. Also, you can have unlimited number of system administrators that can access the system, again, through a web browser on any device, be it computer, iPad, iPhone, Android. Again, there's no software to install. There's no client software to install. Furthermore, by using what we call partitions, we can restrict administrators to be able to view and control only certain partitions or sites. And we'll go over this as we explain, as we cover the software architecture. All right, Fred, if you can go to the next slide for me, please. So this slide here shows the typical configuration of our door controller, where first of all, it's installed above the door on the secure side. Again, Fred already mentioned that the door controller is powered by PoE from a network switch or PoE injector, and then communicates via the network to the application server. Now again, the advantage of this design is that all your wiring, things like door readers, door strikes, handicaps, open button, request to exit, all of these are local. And what this does is cuts down on wiring, cuts down on installation time. Also, on the controller itself, there is a 90 decibel piezo alarm. So in the event anybody tampers with a controller, you'll get an audible, very loud audible alarm, as well as an alert notification through the web browser interface. Now, having said this, Fred mentioned as well, this is our unique over-the-door design, but we also accommodate for your traditional home run back to the IDF closet design. All right, next slide, please. So right now what I'd like to do is explain to you a little bit about the software architecture of VAX. So we just finished the hardware portion. Now I'd like to explain to you the overall design of the software, and we'll actually go into the software itself and demonstrate this. At the very top level, you have something that's called partitions. And partitioning is the method of logically separating the access control system into distinct sections. It could be actual physical buildings, or it could be different sites within the building, or it could be administrative groupings such that you want to give permissions for administrators to have access to certain partitions, which means a certain group of sites and doors. Okay. And sites is the way that we actually associate a panel, a door panel, to the partition itself. So first you create the partition, then you create sites, and then you add on door panels through the sites to connect to the partition. And then you have user time zones, which are the time zones, the policy that you set on the doors itself to allow individual card holders access to the doors. It could be access or no access, or it could be access from a certain time. And then we have door time zones, and door time zones, again, are applied to doors so that it'll set a certain schedule on doors, and through that schedule, it'll behave in a certain way. For example, doing card access a certain time, lockdown at other times, or doing different ways of getting through the door, for example, using both card read and push button panel reader or biometric readers. So we'll show that once we get into the software. And then finally, we have the access privilege group. And this is the actual mechanism that allows users access to specific door readers or floors in the case that you have elevator floors. All right, so now I'll get into the actual software itself. All right, so again, this is web browser based. This is the user interface. When we log, I'm going to log out just to show you. So you start with a login screen, and the address that you see here, this is the actual application server that's running the VAX software. So from anywhere connected via network, you just have to type in the IP address of the application server. Now you'll notice that this is HTTPS, so this is a secure link, and it's communicating through a specific port, namely 11001, to connect to the server. So once we've connected to the server, this is the administrative menu that you'll see. And it's broken into different sections that is, again, very easy to manage and follow. So at the very top, you have day-to-day things that are related to users, access privilege groups, importing cards, monitoring, and we'll go through that as we go further on. And then we have the reporting section. And you'll notice that in VAX, we have an extensive set of reporting, and we'll demonstrate that a little bit later on. And in terms of what we mentioned before in the previous slide, the scheduling for door time zones, setting doors to specific behavior patterns, certain times, user time zones, floor time zones for elevators, and holidays. All of that is set in the scheduling section here. Followed by system. So this is everything that's related to the application server itself. The administrators that are allowed to log in, setting up partitions, databases, and then finally at the bottom is the hardware section, and this is where you go to configure your panels and doors. And if you are integrating to a camera system, this is where you go to add your cameras. So today what I have is I have a panel, and I'm going to demonstrate to show you what happens typically when a read person is going through using their card to go through a reader. So you'll see some events show up on the right, and this is where all the events are listed. So I just had an event of a card holder that was granted access to the door because they had valid credential. You can also see here if this is an invalid card, it shows up in the color-coded red. And you can see different conditions. For example, if I have like a forced door condition, again, you see here a very loud beep. Now that beep is coming from the controller itself. And again, you'll see the message appear on the right. The other way of viewing notifications and alerts is by a mechanism called monitoring. And this is typically the page that your operator, your system operators will view. And in here, again, it could be a separate tab on your browser, or you can even drag this as a separate browser on another monitor if you have more than one monitor. So you can choose to display here all notifications, certain types of alerts, door notifications, so you can pick and choose what you want to display here. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to have all notifications so you can see again all the events that are occurring on the system. And associated with each of these events, when you click on the event, you'll see a picture of the person if you have already associated a picture with the card badge holder. You'll see the condition or the event itself. So there's a couple ways that, again, just to show you how an event is being displayed in VAX itself, again, in the main administrative home page or on the monitoring. Now, what I'd like to do now is to go through, the typical way of how you start configuring a new system. When you just installed VAX and you're setting everything together, we're going to go through the steps. So as I mentioned in the last slide, at the very top level, we have something called a partition. And again, partition is the way you segment your system into actual physical locations where the doors are at, or administrative sections where you define partitions so that only certain administrators are allowed to access those partitions. I have a couple of partitions here already made, and just to show you, when you click on Add, you can just name a partition and save it. And that's how you create a partition. And again, going back to what the basis of VAX, you can have as many partitions in your system as you want. Once you've set up a partition, typically the next step you would do is create sites and areas. So these are, again, subsections in the partitions that we're going to use to associate door controllers to the partition. So as you can see here, I already have a couple of sites that I've created, and you can see the partitions that they're associated to. And just to show you how to create a site, if I click on Add, then again, I can type in the name of my site, and I can choose the time zone that I'm in, and then I can choose which partition that I associate the site with. Okay. So again, the site that we're going to be working with that I have set up, these are all the ones in our database. Today, the one that we have active is this one called the Demo Kit Auto Opener site. So once you create your sites, the next step is to actually add the panels. So physically, you could have installed the panels on the doors, and the way that you have the panels communicate to the server is one of two ways. The first way is clicking on the panels here. And if we add a panel, the first thing that we'll need to do is specify what type of panel model this is. So if it's our one-door reader, our one-door Rex, 2 doors, and you see here Apereo 2, 4, and 8. These are our specialized panels that will communicate with the ASA Abloy Apereo wireless lock set. So we do have an integration with that product as well, and these are the specific controllers that will communicate with those lock sets, as well as the elevator controllers and I/O controllers that Fred had mentioned before. So again, this is where you choose your panel model, and as I mentioned, you associate the panel to the site that you created, and we have several sites in here. And the key thing is on each of the panel, when you look at the panel itself through the LCD display, you'll find the MAC address that corresponds to that panel. So this is where you enter the MAC address of the panel, and this will allow the panel to be online and communicate. And again, here is where you specify the network connection for the panel in terms of its IP address. Now, this is the manual way of adding a panel. The other way of doing it as well is when you go to the panel, on the LCD display itself, you can configure it with an IP address and then also point it to the server. Once you point it to the server, it will appear here on the right, and you can click on it, and it'll come to the same adding panel menu. The only difference is the MAC address will already be automatically filled because that was detected by the system, and it automatically populates the field. It will also automatically populate the field with the IP address of the controller. So to reiterate, there's two ways really of adding a panel to the system, either by manually entering all the information from the panels or connecting the panels up and from the panels itself through the LCD display, program its IP address and point it to the server, and then be automatically detected by the system. Once you have your panels, then the next step is configuring doors. So I'm going to show you here a panel that I have active. This is my active panel currently. And in here, you can see the different options for the panels. Things like LCD display, different conditions forced open. The I/O, this is the important fact that Fred had talked about a little bit earlier when he was describing the panel itself. So on the panels, you can see that there's inputs and outputs. And these are all software programmable. So from the menu, you can click on any of the inputs or outputs, and you can choose the function of that input, depending on how you've wired it up. So for example, right now, input 1 is wired up for request to exit, and input 2 is wired for door contact. Now, for whatever reason, if you want to change this configuration and change the wiring, then again, you can just go in here and change the functionality of that input or output. Card formats. So Fred had mentioned the various card format that VAX supports, and we do support a wide array of format. We have our own Vicon 42-bit card format, but we also support standard Vicon 26-bit, as well as other formats that you see here. So the point of this is we are very flexible with different card standards. Of course, we supply and sell our own cards and readers, but you as the customer have the option to use your own preferred readers or cards. And in the case of takeovers where you have an existing site, we can accommodate all the existing card and card reader infrastructure. So you don't have to change that out. You would just have to add our controllers to the front end and then also the software. So once we finish the panel, again, as I mentioned, we configure the doors that will be connected to that panel. You can see the menu up here. So we have the general options for the door in terms of timers, of how long it unlocks, force conditions, auto openers, and different things that we can do here. The readers, again, once you've wired your reader, you specify which reader port that the reader is connected to. And we also have a function called triple swipe, where with a card you can swipe 3 times on a reader, and that will activate a certain function that you've set here. So for example, you can do a triple swipe to do a lockdown on a certain door, or any of these other functions, again, that you can specify here. Another important feature is areas. So areas is necessary when you want to have anti-passback monitoring and notification. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term, anti-passback is a way to prevent a person from using the same credential twice on a reader in a defined amount of time. So typically, what you want to prevent is person from using a card to go through a reader and then handing that card off to another person to go through the same reader. By setting up areas here in this doors, you can restrict such that the card, once it goes through the reader, it will enter a certain area. In this case, I've created this area called Inside Demo Kit, and the card must badge out through a second reader to leave the area before it can come through the first area again. So this is the way for us to, again, set up anti-passback, and you can see the different options for anti-passback in terms of timing, how long the anti-passback will take effect. The final tab on here is camera association, and we'll go through this once we talk about setting up cameras. So once you've set up, again, all your different elements there from partitions to doors, now you'll have users. So users here is card readers, card holders, not system administrators, which we'll go through a little bit later. So with the users here, I have a list of all users, again, card holders that are in my system. And when I click on any user, you can see the information that is associated with this, starting with name, the start on date. So the start on defines when the user credential is valid in the system. You can also have an expiration date. So if this person will quit or this card is no longer valid, you can specify a date for that card to become invalid. And you have other special privileges in the system defined here, things like master, being able to have access to all doors, things like first card in, where you can set this card holder to be the first card, has to be the first card to go through a reader in order to open it up to all other users. Okay. So within the users here, you can see these options. Again, you see the image, and this is where we actually can browse and add a JPEG image to associate to this card. The credentials itself here, you can see it shows the attributes that belong to this user. Now you can see here there's actually 3 sets of cards. So this person can have multiple credentials, and you can add more credentials, again, by just clicking Add here. Partitions and access groups. So as we build out our system, this is where we give the users access to the different partitions and access groups. And then we also have a status on anti-passback. So you can create a user by simply adding a user. The other way that you can also add a user into the system, very simply, is you can also use your reader as a card enrollment system. So if I have a card here, you can see it says unknown user denied access. So I can actually click on that user, and I can give the user credentials and permissions, and I can add an image for that user. I can have some custom fields associated with that user. And as you see, once we've swiped the card, you can see the card is automatically populated into the field. So you don't have to manually add the card in. Again, with the swiping, you automatically add the card information in. If this card holder has other cards, then you can either swipe it or you can add that in here manually. Again, with the partitions and access privilege groups, so this is giving the user access to certain partitions, could be certain buildings and could be certain areas or doors. So the system that I have right now, the partition that I have active is this demo kit with auto opener and demo door always access, and I'll create that. So once I've created the user, then I have to update the map panel, and you'll see a notification down here that says you need to update the panel with the user information so that the panel receives that information, stores it in its memory, and validates the user accordingly. The other step I have mentioned is the access privilege group. So if we go into access privilege groups, again, this is where you actually create a access to doors and allow certain users access to doors. So again, you start off with which partition this group belongs to, and you can select which users will have access to this group and what readers are going to be in this group that the user has access to, and also the access time. Now these are predefined access times. For example, access only from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. And you can also, through the scheduling, you can create customized user time zones. Okay. So demonstrate the user that I added. So this is the new user that I just added to the system. Now, going back a little bit on anti-passback, we had mentioned it when we were configuring the doors. So as an example of anti-passback, once I've swiped this door person through this reader, now if I swipe the same card again, you'll see that there's raised a anti-passback violation. So this will prevent this reader, this card, from being used on that same reader twice, within a certain defined time that I put into the reader. In order for it to be able to use again, then I would have to go through the reader that exits this user out. There's also a APB status, an anti-passback status. And this is a good way for you to do something like a muster report where you can see who is in a certain area at a certain time. So for example, right now I have this user entered the area. I have another user entered the area. Okay. Once they leave the area, if they read out on the outbound reader, then you'll see that they are deleted from the area. All right, so the next thing I'd like to go over, and this is kind of the sexy part of the software, is our integration with camera systems. So you go down here and you click on camera systems. And I have some predefined camera systems here. And just to go over how you add a camera system, you click on add. Again, you name. And the integrator type. So here is where you choose what video management software system that you're integrating with. From there, you type in the IP address of that VMS server, as well as the username and password. And once you've done that, then you will synchronize with that server and you will get a list of the cameras that are on that server. Now the key here is just because you have access to all those cameras doesn't mean that you're going to be using all of them. You can if you choose to, but most likely you'll be only using cameras that are looking at the doors or areas that you want to have monitored. So right now, for the sake of this demo, I've chosen all these cameras in my server. And once I've added the cameras to the system, then I can go to Camera Viewer, and I can choose my camera system. And again, I can add multiple camera systems at the same time, and I can assign each camera system to a different partition so that only that partition has access to that camera. So I'm going to choose a couple of cameras here just to show you. I have the option here of playing live video or playback video. Okay. So once I click on video itself, I can see live video appearing. From this menu, from the live video, I can click on any camera anytime and I can play back, right-click on the video itself, and I can choose to play back from different times. And within there, I can do fast-forward rewinding. So this is a full access to the VMS, live video and playback directly from the access control. So you don't have to be on the video system to review certain video events. You can do that through our VAX system. So that's one way of viewing cameras. Probably the more important way of viewing cameras is when an event occurs at a door. So what we can do here is we go back to our doors and we click on the door that we have active here. And remember I had mentioned to you about this tab here, the camera association. So now with the camera association, we can choose the video system that we've added to the VAX. And you can associate this door to one or more cameras. So I'll go ahead and choose maybe a couple cameras here. So now I have these cameras associated with the doors. And what that allows to happen is upon a certain event that occurs at the door, you'll have these video pop up. Now, how do we define when these video will pop up when an event occurs at the door? Well, what you do is you have administrative settings here. And in the settings menu, this is where you can see all the different types of notifications. And for any notification that you see appear on the right side here, you can associate that with an alert. You can have an email sent, or in this case, what we want to do is start live camera. So I've program down here so that if we have a reader event of access denied, we'll have live camera pop up. So I'll go back to my home setting, and now that I've set the camera, so these are valid reads, so that won't trigger the automatic video, but with an invalid read, again, you'll see video pop up corresponding to the doors. Remember, these are the cameras that are associated to the doors themselves. So that's how you can see video tied into a door event. The other way also is, remember, going back to the monitoring section, this is your typical operator viewing web page. Every time you have an event occur, as long as you have a camera icon on the event, then when you click on it, you'll see the associated video playing back from the time of the event itself. And again, from here, you can also expand and make the video larger, or you can play back as you wish. So those are a couple of ways of having video pop up based on the event. Another way also, which is equally, if not more valuable, is the reporting. So if we want to create reports of, let's say, door or user activities. So for example, if I go to a door activity report, I can choose the door that I want to look at all the events. I can specify from what time and date to what time and date for those events. And when I run my report, again, I'll see all the events that occurred at that door. And wherever there's camera icons, that means that there's video associated with that event. And when you click on that tab, again, you'll see the recorded video from that time. Now, keep in mind, the VAX server is not recording the video. The video is being recorded on the VMS. What the VAX does is it ties in and it connects to the VMS and it points to the playback video. So this system only works if first you have the VMS running, and secondly, you're actually recording these cameras on the VMS. So you can see the power of the video integration within the VAX system, starting from live video pop-up upon events to viewing the videos that were associated with the event through reports. So the last thing I'd like to do today is go through some of the key overriding mechanisms in VAX. And what I mean by override is, for example, in the system, we have something called override doors. Keep in mind, you're doing this through a web browser. So you could be on an iPad, iPhone, and you have access to this menu. What this allows you to do is, at any specific time, in the case of some kind of emergency, you can override the normal schedule of a specific door or doors. For example, right now, this VAX demo door, it is in card read condition. Now, if I want to override that, let's say I had some kind of emergency, some kind of incident I want to lock down. So if I click on lockdown, you'll see my notification status here shows that now the current state is in lockdown. And when it's in lockdown, then all your normal card holders who have access to this door now are not allowed access to the door. Okay, so this is a very quick way for you to override the normal schedule of the doors in your system, and you can manually change the status of the door, either things like lockdown or card only PIN. Okay. So I'm going to resume this back to the normal schedule, and I'll get a notification saying now I'm back to normal schedule. The other thing I can also do is something called a crisis level. And crisis levels is a way for you to set a door or doors in different partitions to a certain status. And the status goes from highest, meaning code red, and you have different colors here which you can define to do different things. You can define up to 16 different levels. And with this code, once you've set a door to a certain code, again, you see it says the status is in code red. From that point on, only users who have code red specified in their profile will be allowed to enter that door. Or if you change it to another crisis level, again, only users with that crisis level or higher levels will be able to access that door. And if I want to go back to normal schedule, I just click on green, and now I'm back to resumed from state. We actually have users who use this menu in very creative ways as well. So not only as an emergency override, we also have users who actually have this menu open and install readers, controllers at, let's say, parking gates. And then upon arrival of a guest at the parking gate, then the system administrator or security guard will see a video of that user, and typically through a system like intercom, talk to that person, and from there also use this to unlock the gate itself manually. So this can be used in that way as well. So that's the overall general introduction. Again, what I've showed you here is the GUI itself, the simplicity of navigating through the GUI, and the basics of building your system out so that you have certain users and credentials allowed into different areas, and you have different system administrators that are allowed to log in and view only certain sections, certain partitions. Okay. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Fred.
All right, thank you, Wee. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us. I know we're coming up right at the hour here. I have one slide left. Give you a quick overview of what the, one second here. All right. As promised, just a very high-level product roadmap. We thank you very much for walking through that. Again, we all have this demo kit, so if you want more granular detail, we can come to you as well to do so. But again, high-level look here at the product roadmap. We are at 2.7 right now, where we added global anti-passback. We have Active Directory. Version 2.8, the one that's coming out next, is going to be a very large release for Vicon. We'll have interactive mapping added, and we'll also have global linking. And then as we move forward, we really want to listen to the customer to add to the roadmap as well. So if you have any input, we will listen to you. These are just sort of high-level ideas of the direction that we're going to be moving. We'll be adding a tiered structure that will fit much better for scaling as well. We'll have a card import wizard that will make takeovers simplified as well. And then version 3 is really where you'll see that traditional home run design with a single drop, and we'll be moving to a modular design on the software front as well that's going to make us even more flexible and scalable. Now, in between each one of these releases is typically 2 to 3 months, and we've had a very stable track record of delivering to those features and functionalities on each one of those releases for our customers. And we'll, of course, be in touch through communication, both on our website and through our sales team in your region. So I'll just leave up some additional contact information here, both our email and our website. I highly recommend you go to our product page and check out more information on our VAX. We have a ton of tools. We have a ton of information. We have a Did You Know series that has a lot of differentiators for you that you can see. During Wee's demonstration, I did try to answer a majority of the questions that were asked. If we were not able to get to you, we will continue to answer those after the webinar has concluded here. And I believe I have a time that's about 5 minutes over what we said we would be doing. So again, make sure to contact your local regional sales manager or rep for the all-new competitive pricing on this product as well. And I want to thank you all for joining us today.